I've wanted to make this video for quite a while now. Back in April, I watched a movie called Lake Mungo that has freaked me out in a way that I cannot fully explain. Lake Mungo is a mockumentary style horror film about how a family is grieving the sudden loss of their daughter and the strange occurrences that have happened to them since then. What makes this movie so fantastic to me, though, is how it maintained a level of quality throughout the entirety of the film that never made it feel like a work of fiction. Throughout the movie, I had to remind myself that these people are just actors and that none of this was actually taking place. But towards the end, something completely unexpected happened, and honestly, it's never left my mind. This is the part where I throw up a spoiler warning and a content warning just in case some of you are sensitive to certain discussions about sexual crimes and that sort of sense. But now that we got that stuff out of the way, here we go. On Alice's phone, we see a video taken in 2005 where, out of the veil of night, a strange figure approaches her. That figure turns out to be Alice, or rather, the corpse of Alice, and the entire concept of this happening terrified me in a way I had never felt before. There was an overwhelming dread that seemed to flood the scene as everything started to somewhat make sense. The movie gave an interesting explanation for what it could be, the family coming to terms with the idea of it being Alice's ghost appearing before her to warn her of the impending doom that awaits her. But a part of me didn't find the answer to be convincing, especially given the overwhelming topics of grief, depression, and loneliness that is apparent in every scene of the movie. And so, I asked myself the same question I asked when I originally watched the scene, that question being, how is Alice able to see an apparition of her own corpse? After thinking about it for the past couple months, I came up with a theory that I wasn't so sure about because I couldn't remember how the events of the story played out. But after getting the Blu-ray of the movie for my birthday and watching it again, I realized that all the events in the movie played out the way I thought they did, and the theory I had could actually be plausible. And so, here is my explanation. The corpse that Alice saw at the end of the movie is a manifestation of all the negative thoughts and feelings that she has had since sometime before 2002. The reason I say sometime before 2002 will be explained in a little bit, but what I mean by that is simply that Alice created a tulpa. And what is a tulpa? Well, I'm glad you asked. A tulpa is a manifestation of a person's emotions or other deeply psychological energized state into a semi-physical form that exists not only as an extension of the person, but as its own independent being. Say, for instance, someone in your family has died and a group of people are deeply mourning the loss. Because those people are putting so much of their energy into mourning the loss of a loved one, the loved one, or rather, the grief for said loved one, will manifest itself into something like a ghost or some sort of bit of energy that will flow throughout the house and will interact with the world around it. And then after a short time it will leave, but notice that I said leave rather than disappear or disappearing, because the tulpa or thought form is still an independent being and cannot simply blip out of existence. And of course, it takes a lot of time and energy to create even the most minor instances of a tulpa, but it is possible for a person by themselves to create the tulpa if given enough time, energy, and focus. So, now that I've theorized that the corpse is a tulpa, what could have brought Alice to create this being in such a short amount of time? Well, let's rewind back to when I said sometime before 2002. As far as I know, the movie doesn't give us a date prior to 2002 as to what happened in Alice's life, so this is all mostly speculation. But throughout the movie, we see footage of Alice taken by her brother Matthew, and to say some of it is strange would be an understatement. There was footage of what seemed to be him hiding in her room and taking a video of her before being caught and being told to get out, so the average Pokemon fan. Then later on, there is footage of her at the neighbors' pool parties where Matthew is following her around. And finally, it would seem that Matthew has an odd obsession with his sister. early on in the film, he's caught wearing her jacket out in the woods for some reason. I don't know how it would even fit him, but whatever. And it seems that even though he's taking videos of the family as a whole, the focus is almost always entirely on Alice. And I don't know, there's just something weird about it, and I think Alice started to realize that too. A lot of people may point out that since Alice is the subject of the documentary, of course they're going to use footage portraying her. But I also feel that some of the footage they have of her from Matthew is just strange in a way. Like, not strange as in he does anything weird in the video, but rather that the videos themselves are shot in strange ways. And now we jump forward on our timeline to 2002, where Alice becomes a babysitter for her next door neighbors. According to everyone, Brett and Marissa Toohey were your standard nice couple that lived on the block and hosted pool parties sometimes for all the neighborhood kids and family members to go to. This is the party that I referenced earlier that Matthew was taking a lot of videos of, focusing on Alice. Of course, with every family that seems perfect, there lies a dark secret within the walls of their home. This is when I reach the content warning, and if you don't want to get upset, then skip to this timestamp. Brett, Marissa, and Alice made a movie together, and it would seem that Alice had a deeper connection with the family than we originally thought. But seeing her reaction in this movie and the general atmosphere of the entire situation, it seemed as though Alice was sadly forced and coerced into the production of this film, and the behavior that took place probably occurred multiple times throughout the 3 years of her babysitting the family. I don't want to spend a long time on this topic because I don't want to come off as rude, disrespectful, or like I'm trying to make light of this tragedy presented to us in the story, but all I can say is that it would seem that this was the point in her life when her negative emotions and thoughts began to overwhelm her, and out of desperation, she sought the help of a psychic by the name of Ray in 2005. We see videos of Alice talking to Ray, describing how she is afraid of waking up from her dreams and how she feels that something bad is going to happen to her. In these dreams, she feels as though she is drowning and that for some reason she can't say a word to her parents, and in some dreams it seems as though she can't even be seen. In her diary entries, such as the May 12th one, she describes these dreams again, and it becomes more apparent that she has an overwhelming depression surrounding her, and she thinks/dreams of her death a lot. Then we reach August 5th, the night that her and her friends went to Lake Mungo. In the videos, we see that Alice is mostly hiding in the background and seeming a little down about something. Then, when her phone is recovered, we see the video of her corpse's apparition approaching her. You see, the reason I feel the tulpa was formed in this semi-physical state was actually because of Ray. Before talking to the psychic, her emotions and thoughts seemed to manifest themselves into her dreams, but after talking to the psychic, I think he unintentionally unlocked a spiritual side to Alice that allowed these heavy thoughts and emotions to manifest themselves. Or it could be the other way around, where these thoughts and emotions were already manifesting themselves, and interacting with Ray only made them manifest at a quicker rate and form dreams and then the eventual tulpa that we see. And notice how in the video, it seems as though the figure is appearing directly from the darkness. I believe that when Alice was alone at night in the middle of nowhere, all the energy from her negative emotions came together to form this haunting image that appeared before her eyes and was an omen of her impending death. And that is why she seemed so distraught during that trip and buried all of her personal belongings there. It would seem that she knew she was going to die soon, and so gave her spirit a proper burial with the burying of her phone, watch, and favorite bracelets before living the rest of her physical life trying to enjoy her time with her family and friends. Lake Mungo, like my title states, is a tragic story about loneliness and depression that I remember feeling a sense of dread upon finishing the film. I felt terrible for Alice, and a part of me really connected with her character even if she wasn't actually alive during the movie. And to see the family try to process and rationalize everything was also very tragic, but as time went on, they were able to find a way through those complex emotions. The reason why I personally like the idea of it being a tulpa rather than a ghost or some sort of spirit is because the tulpa is an actual manifestation of these negative emotions that are portrayed throughout the film and has a much more personal connection to Alice's character than some sort of spirit that takes the shape of her corpse. The idea of it being a ghost doesn't sit right with me because I personally don't see how the spirit of her dead body could appear to her when she was alive. As of with a tulpa, it taking the form of her corpse makes complete sense in the context of the character and the entire plot of the movie. But for those of you who may think differently or have something they want to add, please do so because I love reading the comments people make and I enjoy seeing the other theories that you all provide. But if you haven't seen the movie Lake Mungo and this video interested you, go watch it. It's an amazing movie and it's one of my favorite horror films in general. But as always, thank you all for watching the video. It means a lot to me. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, night, morning, afternoon, whatever time it is, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.